Today we were looking at defense from close guard. The typical submissions one would be faced with: armbar, triangle, Kimura, Omopalata, and how to defend. Simple ideas on defending these particular attacks. We'll first start with the straight armbar. A straight armbar relies on the ability to stretch out my upper. A straight armbar relies on the ability to straighten my arm, apply pressure through my elbow, and cause an hyperextension. We've got to work counteractively to that. Once in the armbar, step one, prop up with the back foot. Don't try and yank your arm out. By yanking your arm out, you're inadvertently straightening your elbow, giving him the opportunity to put on the submission even faster. I want to make a fist with my hand that's being attacked, my right hand. I want to grab my fist like I'm pulling a lever. I'll then drive through my feet whilst taking my shoulder towards Arif's head. I want to stack him as best as I can. I want to take his knee and try and get it as close to his face as possible. My leg coming up right behind his butt. Now in this position, I'm going to begin pulling my arm free from my shoulder, not from my elbow and from my hand. As I jerk my shoulder up towards the ceiling, I'm looking to dislodge my elbow from his groin line or his hip line. As soon as my elbow passes his groin or hip line, we've got to be careful that we don't get caught in a triangle. So I will not just pull this hand straight through, because thereafter I may get caught in a triangle. Once I feel my elbow is through, I want to immediately do one of two things. Either pinch the leg that's around my neck in towards me, not giving him space to circle around my head for a triangle. I will then circle to the side of my freed hand and pass. I could also take my inside hand and place it behind his hamstring. Apply forward pressure, pull both my hands free, and then disconnect and progress from that position. So in the process of the opponent putting on the armbar, I begin to read his movements as he cuts the angle, and I see the foot clearing my head. I take my free hand and I block behind his hamstring. I then take my inside hand and I grab my bicep. Turn me. Okay. I then lean on, pull from the shoulder. Once both my hands are free, keep both hands on the outside. Boom, and begin to pass. Triangle defense, what's needed is for me to get caught with one hand in and one hand out. Now I cannot allow the opponent to keep my one hand in and keep my one hand out. We've got an early detection defense and a late detection defense. Early detection triangle defense is when I see the opponent isolating and clearing one of my hands and keeping one of his legs over my shoulder. As soon as I have one in and one out, you know what's coming next. In this moment, I want to rapidly take my outside hand and shove it in as quick as I can. Even if it means I only get 3 or 4 fingers in between the opponent's leg and my neck. At this point, even if he closes up the triangle, I'm going to gable grip my hands and I will inch by inch wiggle my way free. I can either, as the situation unfolds, pull my hands both back inside, or I could pull both my hands both outside and thereafter look for a pass. Be careful whilst doing this particular technique that you don't, in the process of pulling one hand out, leave the other hand in. Again, make sure both enter together or both exit together. The next triangle defense is once we're caught deep in the triangle. Once we're in the triangle, what we want to first do is work counteractive to what the opponent is trying to do. The opponent is trying to keep my posture broken. So I'm going to now keep my posture upright, bring my knees close to his butt. I'm then going to establish a C-cup on his knee, isolate that top choking leg, step up with my leg on the same side and violently rotate, to clear the leg from my head. So I was sleeping, I was late to the party. First thing I'm going to do now is work counteractively. Get a good strong posture. Okay? Be careful that he rotates or switches to an armbar, so don't give him a straight arm to play with, guys. Always have your elbow across his hip. Alright? Don't bring your hand across your face, but keep your forearm pinched across his hip. Don't give him an opportunity to switch to an armbar. Next thing we're going to do is inside hand, C cup into the knee and the hammy. Outside hand, cup around the top of the kneecap. Step up with the leg on the same side. I'm now rotating to that side and throwing my far shoulder to the mat violently. Once I've thrown into the mat, I can immediately look to re-establish position. Another late detection triangle defense is in the process of being attacked. I couldn't get to the knee for whatever reason. I'm now going to block the head and step around as if I'm trying to armbar my own hand. So another late detection defense, the presence of the triangle on. Now I couldn't get postured, I couldn't actually get to the knee for whatever reason. I'm going to take my hand that's inside, that's going to choke me. I'm going to make a fist, I'm going to place it next to his ear. I'm then going to grab below his hip and I'm going to pull his hip out. Once I pull that hip out, I'm going to circle to his head, take my far foot and bring it across. I'm then going to sit back and cross both my feet. I then extend my body away to break open the knot. First thing, I couldn't get to the posture, so I'm going to grab the hip, pull his hip outwards to kill his angle. Make a fist next to his head. Posture in, bring my foot around the head, step, sit back. Free my bottom foot, cross the feet, and then I extend my body away to break open the legs. As soon as those legs are open, both hands come in, and I can re-establish whatever guard play I need to continue with. When you're being attacked by a triangle, guys, list the order of things that have to be put in play for you to defend. Number one, form a great posture. Number two, allow your hands to be placed in a position that compromises his ability to choke you. Number three, put enough torque on the hips and on his legs to break open the knot for you to be able to slip out. You want to work counteractively to what he is trying to achieve, which is number one, have one hand in, one hand out. Number two, keep your posture broken. Number three, cut a beautiful angle to help him put on the squeeze onto our neck. Next defense we want to work on, guys, is the defense for a Kimura. Kimura is the shoulder attack from close guard. Two ways to get rid of this particular attack. One is to apply forward pressure, hide your hand behind the bottom of the opponent's body, and drive ourselves onto. So a Kimura attack, guys, as the opponent goes for the shoulder attack, first thing we want to do is maintain a good posture and don't allow our hand to be separated from the floor and away from us. My free hand comes around his body and I make a connection. I then drive my shoulder through his ribcage to flatten his far shoulder. We will then wait it until his hands disconnect and he moves on to something else. The second defense for Kimura is if I can create enough posture and my hand already began to slip away from the floor and I can't grab it and drive him back, I'm going to grab my own wrist, I'm going to weave it between the cavity of his hip and my body, and I will apply pressure on his shoulder. In most cases, the guys will relinquish the attack at the risk of hurting themselves. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to posture up. My hand's going to reach between his body and his hip. Grab my own wrist and pull it through the cavity. If he doesn't let go, he's going to hurt his own shoulder. You could also posture with your leg to give you a little bit of extra support when you're pulling your shoulder free. Omopalata Omopalata defense, guys. When you're being attacked with an Omopalata, first thing you want to remember is the person's trying to keep your shoulder and your elbow in check. First most common escape is to roll out of it. When you are rolling out of it, the most common mistake people make is they roll without actually emphasizing the freeing of their elbow. So I'm going to roll over my shoulder, but in doing so, I'm creating torque and momentum to give me enough energy to be able to slip my elbow that's being attacked to the mat. This will give me an opportunity to escape. So I'm caught in the Omopalata position, all right? My posture hasn't been completely broken yet. I'm still on my knees. First thing I want to do is roll over the shoulder, the one that's being attacked. I want to look away, do a forward roll. In the process of doing a forward roll, my left elbow, the one that's being attacked, must be pulled to the mat. The emphasis is on the elbow being pulled down to the mat as you roll. Try and make those movements one. Another defense for your Omopalata is to be able to posture up into the opponent, pass their leg over your head, and then slip out on the opposite side. So the opponent has me in the Omopalata. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to posture back. I'm going to get them onto their back. Once they're back, you'll notice they'll look to triangle their feet. We grab the foot on the top and we pass it over our head. We then look to slide our leg through as if we're doing a wrestler sit out, and we're turning our head into the opponent to help guide us into side control. I'm being attacked. First thing, posture up in towards him, get him on his back. Triangles his feet, no problem. I'm applying backward force by driving into the mat with my foot. Take the far leg, pass it over my head. Do a wrestler sit through, turn my head in, and circle to the side control position. Guillotine defense from a close guard. When it comes to your arm in and arm out guillotine, we're going to look at one defense for each of them. First one, looking at the arm out guillotine. So in an arm out guillotine defense, the first thing we want to do is, once the head is wrapped, place our forehead on the mat, drive our head into the mat to give our neck some sort of room so that we can breathe. We then want to get our bum as high as we can into a tripod position. Now, we don't want our opponent to be able to put pressure onto our neck unchecked. So my head's going to come to the mat. I'm placing my forehead, and by driving my forehead into the mat, I'm keeping my neck flexed, giving me space to breathe, and then taking up a good grip on his choking arm. My free hand on the far side of the non-choking side, I'm going to make a fist, and I'm going to drive it down between his bicep and his forearm. Once it's pinched between his bicep and the forearm, I'm going to use this as a framework to separate and break his knot. Notice as I break it, I look up to the ceiling, away from the actual choke, expanding my chest, applying pressure on his grip, and allowing me to escape. So, first, an arm-in guillotine defense with closed guard. The first thing we want to do, again, alleviate pressure from the actual choking arm by grabbing it, putting a good grip as low as you can to the wrist of the opponent. Thereafter, the hand that's trapped on the inside, we're placing it on his back, right behind his diaphragm. We're going to then take our shoulder pressure and imagine as if we're pushing through the opponent's body, through his diaphragm into our own palm, whilst pulling up on his choking arm and on the knot. We're once again expanding our chest, looking up to the ceiling and creating that knot that we need to break. Once again, we're driving pressure in. We're in a tripod position. My hands on the floor. I'm pulling open the opponent's grip whilst driving my shoulder through his diaphragm, making it really uncomfortable for him whilst we break open that grip. Guys, notice when you grab on someone's notch, you want to grab as low as you can on their hand. The higher up in the forearm you grab, the less effect you have on actually alleviating the pressure on your neck. Alright guys, that was a basic introduction to defenses from submissions from closed guard. Your armbar, triangle, guillotine, arm out, arm in, your omopalata and your shoulder lock defenses. You should try this with your opponent from a non-resisting opponent at first to learn the nuance of the technique, and thereafter try in a simulated position where you have resistance from your opponent. Guys, thank you for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.